foliage. All the better place to hide a protective spell for those children, to keep them safe while they're playing with those seeds. Or consider the Mexican olive tree, also called anacahuita. It's a small plant, just like the Mexican buckeye, that grows 10 to 20 feet tall and has gorgeous, large, yellow or white, creamy flowers in the early spring into the summer. Sorry. But beware of cold weather with the
Down lower.
down lower.
Yeah.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Don't mind the mic, but I just like it. How's that? Are you picking it up? Okay. That's better too. Beware of cold weather with the anacahuita. It's very cold tolerant and tender. It also has these soft, tender leaves. It makes a perfect place to place a spell for lovers who might be hiding underneath the olive tree. Not all in the world of plants is soft. Beware the sotol. This desert plant tolerates the cold of the hot and dry temperatures, and it protects itself well from humans and animals who might come near it. If you are curmudgeonly grumpy, you might want to plant it next to where people are walking. Most people like their friends and don't want them to get caught up in the sotol. Those who do might need to go to Kate for some medicinal. However, if you would like to protect your place, I might be persuaded to put a little spell on it. Also sticky, but not in the same way, is the inaqua. It's sometimes called the sandpaper tree because of the sandpapery feel of its leaves. The inaqua grows to a magnificent tree, 40 feet tall, 30 feet wide. It has tiny little white flowers that turn into orange edible fruits. It's a perfect place to place a little quirky spell. And last, the smooth, the red yucca. It has a point like the sotol, but its smooth branch invites you in to get close to its salmon-colored flowers. The flowers bloom all summer and into the fall, bringing nectar for hummingbirds and for and bees. Yucca is also used to make cordage. You can peel the yucca plants apart, and let them dry out a little bit, then weave them together. A big place for a spell, good hunting, or good fishing. My spells have been pretty innocuous for the main part, but there are times when you need something stronger. That's when we turn to poison spells that Kate will tell you about.
Poison spells? What we all need, but might not. So let me tell you how to use the plants about you. First of all, one of our favorites is the mountain laurel. We use the mountain laurel seeds, not innocuously as the ash. These little marbles are not marbles. These indeed are poisonous seeds. We know in order to get them to we know as gardeners that in order to get these little pretties to sprout, we must scarify them. No tenderness needed to brew to the little germs underneath. Another fine plant that we have about in this area are chili canes. onions. Yes, you should try some of my favorite chili. Yes, it is edible. Indeed, it's not really poisonous. But I don't know how much you put in yours. Ah, my little pretties. Lovely plants. They come up constantly, especially in the shade. They can become just 2 or maybe 4 foot nice, lovely little bushes. And they will come back year after year. They're perennial. So you can have your chili for your chili piquins, or to make somebody hot for you. We also have acorns. Oh, yes, indeed. Oak trees abide in our land of Texas, but the original being live oak. Poisonous, you may say? Oh, yes. Unless you leach it over and over and smash and drain and leach and drain. Many of the Native Americans' subsistence of protein was also needed from these acorns. There are many kinds, as I said. You may know the bur oak. The black oak. We have red oak, we have white oak. There are many oak in our lands. The one thing fine about them is they are one of the trees that are evergreen if they're a live oak. If not, they make wonderful mulch. And you can hide people in them. We also have another poisonous plant that some of you may not realize is poisonous. The lantana. Yes, there are many lantana, but only one, which is native to our state. What part is poisonous? The little berries. They wouldn't come out quite to see you. They look like a very tiny blackberry, but rounded. If you've seen the seeds and the fruit, say aye. Aye. Don't eat them. You all probably know about this, the mistletoe. Oh yes, it is a parasitical. In other words, it will look for other plants to become hosts on, sucking out its energy. Do not eat the berries, however, highly poisonous. Oh, yes, love said highly poisonous. Oh, I see someone that I shall meet later. And then, what is this? Oh, there's poison. Oh, that, I was looking for a word. Oh. I suppose we didn't want to be touching this leaves of 3. Let it be. Poison. The most well-known, perhaps, poisonous ivy and poison. Yes. Poison ivy in Texas, yes. Leaves of 3, let it be. And this is instead.
That is a Mustang grape, I believe, with lobes of 3
versus leaves of 3. Not to be confused, but easily confused. Just leave them alone unless you want to have an itch. And last but not least, these pretties, which we see all about our fields. The beautiful little purple flowers of the silver-leafed nightshade. When I first came down to Texas, I thought these would be lovely lovely to eat. I thought they were called tomatillos. Tomato family. But not the same. No, not at all. Very, very poisonous here. The silver leaf nightshade. The berries, juices, have been used and squeezed out and put many times into wines or juice, or perhaps Coke or iced tea. Of this nightshade. There are many others to beware of, but that is all that I shall share with you tonight. Next, let's get a little more up and lifted with some color spells by Miss Nancy.
Color spells. Oh, yes. We shall concoct a spell at this moment. Here I have a clear jar of water. Here I have walnut shells, walnut husks. Our town used to be called Walnut Branch because we had so many walnut trees. But alas, those French wanted them for gun stocks. And of course, it's such a beautiful wood. We have furniture, paneling, chests, and tables made of walnut wood. So they are rare now, but we witches know where they live. So we will add some walnut husks. There we go. Maybe I'll add a little more. What do you think?
Yes.
Sherry here. Oh, I did not think any sherry would be a good idea. No, because, well, your sherry is black.
Shake, don't stir.
Well, we'll see how it is in a moment or two, because we have other ones. Perhaps you know the agarita bush with its trifoliate leaves, very spiny. When they bloom in the early spring, as early as February, they are the first honey flower for the bees, and their fragrance will fill the night. And afterwards, the lovely little red berries, they taste like peaches, ripe, sweet peaches. You can eat them off the tree, or put a canvas or a sheet or an upturned umbrella under the branch, under the tree, under the bush, and shake it, and you can make jelly from these wonderful agarita berries, but we use them to make a yellow, bright yellow dye. And can you see the yellow where I have cut? Yellow, bright yellow. The roots, the stems, everything turns yellow. And used as a dye to make a lovely yellow color. Oh, but of course, dyes require mordants. Mordant is a fixative so that your dye does not wash out when you wash your clothes or whatever. So you may, and I bet you have, in the spring, you have been pulling the stork's bill geranium plant out of your beds. It's a common spreading weed. Its other name is alum root. You would collect the roots and dry them and pound them and turn them into a powder so you can have a fixative, a mordant in your dye. Agarita. Now, perhaps you are a gentleman of a certain age, and perhaps you have a bit of frost around the temples. I'm talking to you, so. wish to return to the black hair of your youth, you might choose I don't know if you can see this, I have one dried little persimmon on my bush here. We had such a drought this summer, did we not? Did we not? And the persimmon makes a lovely black dye that was used by the early caballeros to just touch the temples a little bit. Blackness. It's a lovely little plant, delicious fruit, one big seed. I eat them right off the bush when they're plump and ripe. You do not want to eat an unripe one. It's very stringent, very, very stringent. But perhaps the most famous dye from our land that was harvested by our cousins, the Aztecs, and extremely valuable. Once it was discovered by the Europeans, they filled their cargo ships with our little scale insect to make a red dye for the Pope, or for the English royalty, or for Rembrandt and Goya and the other Renaissance painters who needed a pure red. And later on, they were harvested and bought by the English to color the coats of their soldiers. Those red coats all came from our little plant here. You have prickly hair, you probably do, and it may be covered with these white little insects. That's actually the cocoon that protects the mother insect and all of her little babies. That white cocoon, when you squish it.
She enjoys this more than she's letting.
I do. I will get some on my little stick here. And let's say you know a scoundrel in your town, perhaps a murderer, and you wanted to cast a spell on him that would give him bloody fingers. Bloody fingers. And of course it works. Our little cochineal insect, famous for its red dye. We've done black, we've done yellow, we've done red. Let's go back and see what our water with the walnut shells in it has done. Ha ha! We made a black dye. Ha 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 ha! Miss. Back and forth.
So, touchy, poisonous. Oh, let's do Smelly. What?
Smelly. Smelly spells.
Smelly spells engage the ancient part of your brain. It takes just the slightest sniff to transport you back in time to the first time that you encountered the planet. Consider Mexican oregano. Its fragrant leaves and wonderful flavor to meat dishes, but scare away the deer who don't enjoy its smelly fragrance. Crush it. Smell it. Can you remember when your Oma or your abuelita was pouring her love into a dish that she was making just for you? Or wild onions. Very nice. Break a piece of this aromatic plant. And remember, digging onion plants out of your garden in the spring. Maybe you are adding them to dandelions to make a very healthy side dish full of antioxidants. You take those antioxidants and a little bit more to some of Kate's poison spells. Salvia, brighten our gardens and provide nectar for our pollinators. Give the plants a little pinch, and you know immediately why the deer avoid coming up to them. They're a member of the fish family and have quite a fragrance. What memories does it evoke for you? Not all our smelly spells are pleasant. Cowridge vine. Cica trifoliata puts out an odor that says, "Leave me alone." Oh yeah. And with good reason. The roots are poisonous, and the leaves bring on dermatitis. Really gross. Yes, that's a spell to avoid. Maybe Kate will have something for that dermatitis in her medicine. Oh look, we have another. But it doesn't smell.
Oh, I know this one. This is aromatic sumac or skunk bush. When it flowers, the flowers smell like skunk.
Beautiful.
So now I think we need some medicine
To get over your stink.
Yeah.
Well, here we have a few wonderful medicine spells, some of which I'm sure you know well. This is not just a lovely flower, known also as the cone flower. It is echinacea, from which so many of our cold medicines derive. Echinacea will help with your colds. Excuse me, sore throat. I think I need some of this echinacea. Oh my, yes. Thank you. I need my teacher witch voice. The echinacea flower, flower petals as well as its leaves are used to make cold medicines. Another wonderful plant that we have all about Texas that will help you feel fine is the Cenoza. Say Cenoza. Guess what it's for? Yes, your nose, your respiratory problems, Cenoza will help to clear it up if you make a little tea or a poultice. The aromatic flavor is fabulous and will also help you sneeze. The Cenoza is well known because it has those lovely little purple petals that come out only when it rains. Oh, we do need to see more of it, do we not? This lovely plant will grow 4 to 7 feet. And I know from experience that once it gets its roots down, they're down. Very good. It's a hearty, wonderful Texas plant, the Cenoza, and most useful. Oh, we were talking about antioxidants. This is my favorite native plant. Not only is she, the Barbados cherry, lovely, but she creates a beautiful little red cherry about the size of my fingernail. This cherry has more antioxidants and higher vitamin C than blueberries or oranges per mass. The birds love it, so I don't usually make anything from them, but you can make jellies from Barbados cherries. As you see, lovely flowers, even though we've had a drought. Amazing, is it not? It flowers in the spring. It dies back but stays green in the summer, and it flowers again in the fall. And then it says, I've done it. And it dies back to the ground, only to come back up again in the spring with as much vim and vigor as I believe the berries give all of the wildlife and any who partake of it. My favorite, Barbados cherry. Now, if you have some aches and pains, which some of us do get as we're getting older, my friend, the willow, is your friend too. The well is from whence we get aspirin. I indeed once was caught on a mountain top with a sprained ankle from backpacking with no medicine, and I chewed on the bark. And it worked. So that I didn't have to do it anymore. It did work. Well, a fabulous painkiller. And willows, of course, you know, are riparian area plants. They love the water. So, hard to just have in your garden, unless you happen to have a lovely pond. The willow. Another berry-making plant is the yaupon holly. From it, the pioneers would get their cowboy coffee. From the leaves and the berry, there's high levels of caffeine in this fine little bush. This also is an evergreen plant that will grow quite thick in case you need to have a privacy hedge for whatever you're concealing. The birds love these nice little berries. Do you know that's why they chirp so loud and so intensely? Oh, there's so many others. Oh, this is for my fun for now.
These are all
wonderful plants.
all Texas native plants. All these plants were here in this community tens of thousands of years ago, before the ornamentals and the exotics that have been brought in. So we, as master naturalists, and let me turn on that hat for a moment, we are master naturalists. We have had a chapter here in Guadalupe County for 9 years. I'd like to recognize some of the other master naturalists in the room. Pam Turner, Daryl and Mary Stidlow.
Stand up. Make them stand up.
Yes, yeah. Janet McGee. And there may be others.
Peter Hernandez here.
Peter Hernandez. We are sponsored by Texas AgriLife as our master gardeners and Texas Parks and Wildlife. So we go through a training class and we cover all the things outside your garden gate. We study climatology, archaeology, mammalogy, herpetology, geology, ichthyology, climatology, did I say that? And it gives us a broad background, because the goal of Master Naturals is to develop core volunteers who will teach others to appreciate the natural resources of Texas. All of these are part of the natural resources of Texas. Our chapter has several initiatives. We provide 18 to 20 children's and family programs every year in Seguin at the Public Library, in Shirts at the Crescent Bend Nature Park, where we have an entire discovery series of discover dinosaurs, discover rocks, discover what's flying,
Early Texans.
discover early Texans,
Texan.
Clues and Traces, Horns and Thorns, that are all programs that we have developed as a chapter that we take to the community here in Guadalupe County. And last year, we did win the award as the best nature education program in the state. We volunteer at different gardens, at the Pollinator Garden in Park West on Monday mornings, 8:30 to 10, pretty much all year round. Forest, oh my goodness. You all, if you've been to Park West, you have seen the walking trails through the forest and the work of eliminating the invasive species that are there. If we did nothing to remove the ligustrum, the chinaberry, the nandina, the tree of heaven. Is that covered? Oh, the bamboo, yes, the Chinese bamboo. If we did nothing to remove those, our Texas oaks and pecans and elms and native plants that are fighting in competition for their water, for their sunlight, for the soil nutrients, we would lose that forest if we did nothing. So, Master Naturalists, we have we call it a multi-generational project. We started 9 years ago, and we barely scratched the surface. But there is one section where we started in 2014 and removed all of the ligustrum, and we walk it every January and we look for little sprouts of things that should not go there. And we have an acre or two, more than an acre, maybe even 3 of Texas native forest.
Nice.
And so that is we have to go and look at the area we call First Forest. It's just south of the large pavilion in Park West. And when we started in 2014, it was a wall of ligustrum. And now what you see is a healthy understory, pecan trees, oak trees, hackberry trees, cedar elm trees, and more. And more. And more.
We have some walnuts coming up.
Oh, yes. We have seeded it with walnuts.
This summer.
Yes. They may have, I was looking for them, they may have gone into senescence for the drought. Hey, they're Texas natives. They know what to do when it doesn't rain for 6 months. And so we have seeded the new areas with walnuts that we have followed the protocols for, what do you call that? Scarifying? Scarifying? Cold storage. Actually, they require a cold storage. Yes. So we welcome your questions about these native plants. We've told you a little bit about who we are as Master Naturalists and the way in which we use touchy, smelly, colorful, poisonous, and medicinal plants. So you're talking about the class? Oh, yes. Thank you. We have a class every year in which we train upcoming master naturalists. This year it's in Seguin. Next year it will be in Shirts.
In the evening.
In the evening. Evenings in Shirts, afternoons here in Seguin. So it'll be 2 years before you would even be permitted to become a master naturalist. And oh, by the way, our commitment to master naturalists is so strong that we are required, in order to maintain our certification, 40 hours of volunteer work every year and 8 hours of event training every year. But our members are sampling streams. They are counting birds. And they're counting butterflies. They've gone through the monarch training. They're searching the leaves for the little tiny monarch eggs. And many, many other citizen science activities in order to maintain their certification. So you're welcome to join us. Any questions? Yes?
The Barbados cherry, how big is the plant?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't remember exactly.
They have a bush and a tree version, because I had one of each.
You have, yeah, I only have Pam is handing out, we have a handout for you that lists all the plants we talked about and their botanical names, their eventual mature height, their eventual mature width, what their water requirements are, any special features as to when they bloom or cautions to know about, and anything else that's on that list. The Barbados cherry, of course, it depends on your soils a little bit. It likes to drain. It likes to drain. It likes a draining soil. Mine, I've got a number of them, but my 3-year-old comes up about this every year, and then dies back every winter.
We have found
And I had a tree one that got me about this tall one.
and we have found one wild one in Park West, one Barbados cherry. And they spread, they put down their roots and then they will spread another plant and another plant. Sweetly.
Mine's currently 5 feet in several areas.
Okay, 5 feet. Yes. we have
So
a question.
are you collecting your oak seeds, or do you have a way of getting oak seeds?
Oak? No, we're not. We do scatter them. Our members give us acorns,
Okay.
and
So you're
we
collecting-
scatter them. We collect them. We have permission from the Parks Department. By the way, all of the work that we do in Park West, all the chainsaw work that you see there, all the heavy-duty work is done mostly by women, I would say. And we have permission to, there's one mature walnut that's in between the soccer fields in Park West in full sun. We know of another one that's kind of off in the woods. But we collect the fallen walnuts and we refrigerate them for several months and then we plant them in Park West. Last year we had 14 come up that we were able to find. They have gone into senescence now, and we hope that they'll be back in the spring.
These are itty bitty, like this big. More like that big. They're little black walnuts out there.
Yeah, they're these.
They're those.
Yeah, they're these.
Any other questions?
Questions? Where is Park West? Oh, Park West is a public park.
She doesn't belong in
Yes, west, go west on Court Street and turn right on Vaughn before you get to Seattle. Yes, we're going to Parks Department website and they have the locations of all the parks there. There's the splash pad, playground, 3 soccer fields, restrooms, covered pavilions, the big park, 48 acres. There was somebody else who had a hand up. Yes.
Can you share what you know about the different grapevines that grow in this region? There's one that's native and one that is not.
There's a Mustang grape I know is native, but I don't know any others. I don't know of any others.
I had recently read the Mustang is not.
Well, as a matter of fact, over here on the desk, on the credenza, we have 3 books that during break you're welcome to take a look at. One is The Remarkable Plants of Texas. I want to bring them over. The Remarkable Plants of Texas, which is the ethnobotany of all Texas natives. Mr. Warnock, I believe, yes, Matt Warnock Turner put it out a few years ago. And we use the Magic and Medicine of plants, put out by Reader's Digest, and it covers global plants. So not just Texas natives, this one is just Texas natives. And then, if you'd like to learn more about the cochineal and its role in the world trade, A Perfect Red by Amy Butler Greenfield is a charming, wonderful, enlightening book about the cochineal. And it was worth, in weight, it was more valuable than gold. And here she's smelling it. She's smearing it on paper. There it is. Any other questions? Yes.
Is that red dye, is it something that you normally would just mix with water, or you wouldn't mix it at all when you put it to fabric?
With dye making, Native Americans and particularly in Central America, that the Aztecs were harvesting the cochineal in well before when they were discovered by the Spaniards. And your question, so to make a dye, yes, they would strain it, mix it with water, but you'd always need a fixative or a mordant to add to it. The Native Americans probably, they could trade for evaporated salt from more southwestern tribes, and salt has some salts have some amount of alum in it that is a fixative, or our little lowly stork-billed geranium roots have that fixative as well, because otherwise it would tend to wash out, and the book would not. I think you all have that handout now.
Yes, yes.
Hey, Pam,
So, yes,
a couple more handouts over here when you get a moment, please.
I put them on the back table.
Back to you.
Yeah. So our witches tonight are Chris Dias, Nancy Masterson, and Kate Schnapp. And Pam Turner came tonight in her witch outfit as a substitute witch. So I think it was great, informative and fun. And would you give them a round of applause? I believe that they're going to leave these tables set up after our meeting for just a little bit so that folks can come up. I think there are some plants that you don't want to touch, some kind of plants that you don't want to eat, and some kind of plants that if you do chew on them, you'll feel really good going out. Is that right? I think I knew. Who knew? Yeah. So, Bola. Yeah.
All right. Now we will do the drawing. Which one's first?
Let's do the door prize first.
The door prize first.
calls them.